You better believe it's recording.
Going live.
Oh, yeah. Well, great Thursday morning, Gail.
Great Thursday morning, Steve. It's a great day to have a great day.
It is, all you beautiful, amazing people out there. I feel like I'm yelling today. I should calm myself down.
Oh, well, why would you want to calm yourself down now?
That's true. Why try to fix something that's not broken?
That's right. Let it roll. Let it roll.
So today, on the docket for inspiration, we've been deep now into our transformation method. This is the 4th week that we're in, and we're lying heavily in identity and our subconscious paradigms and values in which we hold to be true about ourselves. And it's a very compelling topic because we get an opportunity to learn more about who we are from a very core level. And when people start asking questions about who they are and what they want to change and what they want to improve on or elevate or expand, oftentimes it comes to, hey, what do I need to do? What do I need to do in order to make the change, in order to transform, in order to make the shift, in order to expand, evolve, be happier, have more of what I want? And do you get that same on your end, Gail, now that you're really like leading by even a bigger example and influencing more people and inspiring greater possibilities? Are you getting those same questions coming to you?
Oh, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you doing it? Doing. And that is the focus. People, they've conditioned themselves to do more in order to have more in life. And we kind of teach from the other side of becoming who you are being in the process to do the right things, and the question for today's topic is, you know what you need to do. You're just not doing what you know. And I did a little video this morning, Steve. I went down to the pickleball courts at 7 a.m. The lights were on. It was 40 degrees, and I had to sit because, there was just a few of us there. So I did a little video in introducing this topic today. And it was interesting. I'll bring up my dear friend Juliana made a comment on that video, and she said, I knew what I did. What did she say? I have it pulled up. 2 weeks ago, I did what I knew I needed to do. I'm now caffeine free. I feel so much better, clearer minded, better sleep, more consistent energy. And, I was reflecting on that because Juliana and I have chatted about that for the last several years. When we get together, she was always just searching for that a little bit more. And she always knew what she needed to do. She just wasn't doing what she knew. And so here is 2 weeks, it's a beginning. It's a start to, like, I know in her mind, I believe Juliana knew in her mind what she wanted. And then she figured out who she needed to become to do that, responsible, committed, consistent. That really is the transformation equation to get where you want to go. So it's not about the doing first. It's about identifying who it is you need to become so you know what to do.
And how many times have we discussed that? Is that the doing is only as effective as the being doing the doing. And I know for a lot of people, when they first hear that, it's like, whoa, like, what did that mean? Like, you really have to slow that down, like frame by frame, and sort of put that piece together. Like, okay, in order for me to do the things that I need to do, because I know what I need to do, I have to first choose to be from a characteristic standpoint. And that is sometimes challenging for people to understand. But once you do understand it, it really is the breakthrough that is going to manifest what you truly want in your life. And I'm not saying that it's the law of attraction. It's just because now you have more empowerment to work from commitment versus circumstance.
Mhm.
Like you made the commitment, no matter, regardless of the circumstance, the weather outside, the how dark it is, how light it is, whatever the condition is or external circumstances, what people are saying to you, what they're not saying to you, whether they're giving you an opportunity or not giving you an opportunity, you're operating from that level of commitment. And as we're going through this, and I'm thinking, how can we best serve people? How can we bring the greatest value? Let's just assume for a second, let's go into like more of an ideal place and an ideal world. And we say people are starting to understand that. They're starting to understand they're working from being, not from doing. Okay. Then we have to ask ourselves the question, well, why is it that when they know they need to do something, they're not doing it? And let's say, yeah, it is a part of who they're being. They haven't made a real decision to be consistent. They're just an inconsistent person from, let's say, an identity perspective. And that's why identity is so important. Maybe they're just not focused. They're easily distracted. And that distraction prevents them from taking action. But when we really get down to it, and this is where I want people to take away, and I trust this will bring some great value to you, is that it's the emotions that we carry most of the time. So the quality of our life really comes down to the quality of the emotions that we carry most of the time. If we're living in a state of like fear and anger, frustration, stress, anxiety, things like that, we don't necessarily take the actions or have the behaviors we need to take in order to have the result or the desired outcome that we want to have. However, when we're happy, we're uplifted, we're motivated, we're inspired, we're coming from a place of abundance, like that's our hotspot. That's where we start making some of the greatest changes and taking the behaviors we know we need to do. However, we know that those emotions are fleeting. We don't stay in those emotions all the time. Thus, we take less action than we probably want to. So if we know that the quality of our life comes down to the qualities of the emotions that we carry and hold on to most of the time, and we want to improve and enhance the quality of our emotions more frequently, what do we need to improve on? We need to improve on the quality of the thoughts that we carry with ourselves most of the time.
The stories.
Yeah, it's the stories, it's the beliefs. And we can even go back and say the stories and the beliefs are part of the programming that we have. Like that's the programming, that's the past unconscious programming, our paradigms that we hold to be true. So our thoughts are supported by our beliefs and our stories. But let's start with the thoughts, the thoughts in which we carry, the questions that we ask and answer ourselves more often. And there's one thing that I've identified and I've experienced through working with hundreds and thousands of people when it comes to at least improving the quality of their fitness and their health, and them taking action and going to the gym, starting their nutrition program, drinking the adequate amount of water, getting a routine bedtime that they know is going to better serve them and better provide them. It's fear. It's the fear. It's the thought of fear that we carry. And there's two predominant fears that most people carry that prevents them from taking action. It's the fear of abandonment and it's the fear of inadequacy. Now, those are going to be two that you want to probably write down. So if you're watching this, write that down. It's the fear of abandonment and it's the fear of inadequacy. The fear of abandonment is simply the fear of rejection. You're going to be judged and there's going to be a sense of rejection. If I get too healthy and too fit, I'm going to be ousted by my fun, loving group of people that like to go to the bar every Thursday night and Friday night and like to party and drink beers. They're going to oust me from that. I'm going to be rejected from that crowd, which means I'm going to be in a state of being uncomfortable, because what I'm told is I need to be surrounded by more people that have what I desire to have. So where you might be an alpha in one group, you no longer are in a new group that you're growing and expanding with. But that's part of growth. That's part of development. And then the inadequacy is simply you thinking you're not great enough. You're not worthy of it. Who's to say I should be any healthier than I am? I can't do that. So it's the fear of abandonment and inadequacy. And Gail, you and I have spoken about this. And by the way, our conversations, like, these aren't scripted. These are just us having a conversation with you, because we feel that I can say this from a selfish point of view, that I want people to be able to listen to our conversations because they can make a real change in their life. And when they're making a real change, they're happier, they're healthier, they're more fulfilled, they're more energized. And I want more energized people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that makes me happy. I mean, I'm happy without it, but I'd be more fulfilled to know that there's more people that are living the quality of life that they desire to live. And who would not want to be surrounded by more happier, healthier, more fit people?
I do.
Yeah.
It's a choice, and I bring that, like, there was an observation. One of our neighbors from Three Rivers, Michigan, were here visiting their son this week, and they came to see us, Trish and Andy. And Andy shared with Steve, he says, Steve, you know what? I see the difference here. The biggest difference I see in Arizona are the people who are the older people. And I'm talking, we're in a 55 plus community, but just coming from the pickleball court, it's 60 to 70 to 75. That age group, 60 to 75 years young, and they're active, they're out, they're moving. And that's what I had a little lady ride by on her bike. She's laying down on one of those bikes that you pedal. And I swear she was probably about 90 years old. And she looked over at me, flags flying behind her, and she smiles as she pedals her bike by. So she was happy. People here are happy. I'm in Happy Trails.
For crying out loud. The name precedes itself.
And so people are happier because they're out. They're able. There's not the excuse that I'm going to wait till it warms up. Of course, in the morning, some people don't come to play pickleball at 7 a.m. because it's 40 degrees. They wait till it's 45 at 8:30. And that's okay, because they're still out and they're still finding the energy to be outside, to get the fresh air, to get the sunshine. And it inspires me to want to be that same way, like living this life, to have the happiest, healthiest, best version of myself out here. And so I just thought Andy's observation of the older generation, because back in the Midwest, circumstances, Steve, people fall under circumstances. It's too cold, it's too rainy, it's too snowy, it's too windy, it's too this, it's too that, to go outside, and they end up sitting inside. They know what they need to do. They're just not doing what they know because they're allowing the external circumstances to guide their life.
I didn't think I was going to go here with this, but I'd like to. And I want to go a little bit deeper on that, because it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault that they're in fear. There's nothing conscious about fear. Now think about that. There's nothing conscious about fear, meaning, do you ever notice throughout the day, all of a sudden it's 3 o'clock. I have 10 minutes to kill. Let me get into some fear real quick. Let me just let me get worried about something. Let me start having some anxiety about something that I really need to do. No, it's not a conscious delivery of thought or presentation to yourself. As a matter of fact, there's two things that drive fear. Now, what I just mentioned with the abandonment and the inadequacy, those are components of fear. But what creates the fear are two things. The first thing is our brain. Our brain is trying to protect us by putting us into fear. And the second is going to be simply just, again, I mentioned before, is the past unconscious paradigms, or the programming in which we've been operating in for the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, since we were a child, since we were in the womb. We started learning beliefs and stories from the time before we were born. So those two things. And let me give some things to chew on here. I don't know if I've ever even broken down the predominant parts of the brain here in this conversation, but let me do that. And that might be a segue for something we discuss later on in the future. So there's three predominant parts of the brain. And I want you to think about it like a left side of the brain, let's say a middle brain, and a right side of the brain. So let's say your left side of the brain, we'll call that, it's called the prefrontal cortex. And that is your analytical part of the brain. It's your executive part of the brain. It's your thinking part of the brain. It's the part of your brain when you're watching this live right now and you're like, oh, well, geez, that makes total sense. Like logically, that makes sense. In order for me to have something different, I need to behave differently. Like makes total sense. Like that's our thinking part of the brain. However, there's the right side of the brain, which is our reptilian part of the brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. It is the part of survival. It is our fight or flight. It is our autonomic system. It's the part of the brain that keeps us alive so that we don't have to consciously think about breathing or blinking to keep dust out of our eyes or doing all the small things that our body needs to do in order to live, in order to survive efficiently and optimally. And then there's the third part, which really, I should say, if we're traveling from one side of the brain, from the left to the right, we have a thought. And like that makes a ton of sense. It has to travel through the top of the brain or the middle part of the brain, which is the limbic system. And that's your mammalian part of the brain. That's your emotional brain. There's a ton of emotion involved when it comes to making a decision, making a choice. So it has to travel to the reptilian part of the brain. The reptilian part of the brain is like, you're not going to go walking in this cold temperature. That's not what you do. That's not who you are. That's not what you believe in. So then it's going to kick it back over to the emotional side, back into your thinking part. And it's basically like a ping pong match or a pickleball match. And eventually, what always is going to win? Your reptilian part of the brain, the habitual part of the brain is going to win more often than not. So you have to understand it's not your fault. You just have to have awareness to the fact that your brain has a huge part in the fear that you're getting into subconsciously. And then all the abandonment and the inadequacies, that comes from your past, what you've learned, what you've been taught. Like you can't do that because if you do that, you're going to be shunned from this environment. You can't do that. You're going to fit. You can't be whatever you want to be in this world. So then you never even try because you're fearful of, you've already told yourself, well, who am I to do that? I've been told that. Who am I to do that? Mm-hmm. So those are the two parts that really operate your fear. And you have to understand, and I'll say it again, is that fear is not a conscious response. It is an unconscious delivery. So there are some things that we can do to get through fear relatively easy.
I was just going to ask you that. How do we grow through that, Steve?
If I really put it down to 3 or 4 points, I'll say this. The first thing we have to do is we have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge the fact that I'm experiencing fear right now. Like right now, I'm going through fear. You start to get like your sweat glands start opening up, your armpits start sweating, your hands get a little clammy. You have to have awareness. You have to acknowledge it. And then I would say that you have to shift your awareness. And you have to say, like, this is not me. This fear I'm having is not me. This is my reptilian part of the brain trying to protect me. And that's where you disassociate with the fear. It's not me. It's my habit part of the brain. It's the fight or flight that's just trying to protect me from fear of failure or fear of being rejected or me telling myself, who am I to think I could be a healthier version of myself? I've tried that already. It didn't work. So then we just shut it down and we just don't take action. Mm-hmm. It's like the paralysis by analysis.
Kind of reminds me of my showing up on the pickleball court this morning. It wasn't pretty. And I'd be standing back there, you know, behind and thinking, oh, just get this game over with. And then there's the other part of me that says, oh, heck no.
Oh, hell no.
We are going to fight. We are going to battle. We're going to do the best that we can. And, you know, the showing up to be on the court with these amazing players, who do I think I am? Oh, well, I tell you what, I'm getting better. And if I'm not out here, I'm not getting better. And you know what? I might be sucking it up this morning, but Steve and I will go out there and we'll practice again this afternoon, and we'll hit the ball back and forth. And you know what? Before you know it, like I can remember the day I might, like, it was a physical thing. My heart pounded like to step on those courts, because I felt inadequate. I didn't want to let people down. And it was fear. I had that fear in me. And the more you do it, I'm going to say the easier it really gets. And like you just said, I acknowledge it. Okay. I'm not having very good game today. I know I'm going to get better. And it was just short those shots. I'm moving my awareness to the fact that I'm not quitting. I'm going to grow through this moment. So what's the third one? You said you have three.
I would say 3 or 4. I would say, because there's something I learned many years back, and it's probably one of the most important things that we can understand and know when it comes to shifting our state, going from a state of, let's say, lack to abundance, going from sadness to happiness. And it's 6 words. There's 6 words that we can really align to. And you know what I'm going to say, because when I always say like this, there's 6 words, because when you say 6 words, you're thinking, what are the 6 words? And you can relate to it and you can remember it. You will recognize it. And those 6 words are: you are where your attention is. So simply move your attention. If you're in a state of fear for whatever reason, you simply move your attention and you take the what ifs. How many times you said, hey, what if? What if I fail? What if I'm not an adequate partner for my husband or whatever partner I have on the pickleball court? What if? And what if you took that what if statement and you simply turned it into a positive outcome? Hey, what if I just smear the court with these guys? These level 4, 4.0 players. You know, what if I just shed the weight and I release the weight and I become and what if I have to buy new clothes because of these pants no longer fit me, because I'm becoming the healthier version? I'm in a state of commitment and consistency and responsible. I'm taking back control. I'm taking back my power of this one valuable quality of life. So just simply move your attention. And I say simply move your attention because that's as simple as it. Move your attention. When we have problems, when we have fear, it's because we are giving it energy. Give the energy to the solution and to the optimistic outcome that you desire to have. That's how you move your attention. And then finally, you've heard us say this too. We talked about this in the training, why goal setting doesn't work. How about this for a final one? Just let it go. Just let it go and take an action. And understand that if you fail, congratulations, you're one step closer to success. When you fail, it's not even if, it's when you fail. You're gonna fail. Failure is part of the process. When you fail, it's feedback. It gives you feedback to know how you can be better prepared and better armed the next time you're in the situation or position. Keep moving forward. So that's what I would say. I would say acknowledge it. I would say shift your awareness, move your attention, and just let it go.
So you can let in that which you really desire.
Yep.
Boy, my mind is spinning down, but I know we're limited on time. So we'll just have to continue that conversation. Because what I was thinking of was the vacuum, creating a vacuum.
Yeah.
As you let go of the unserving habits that you've allowed to impact your life, to let in the habits that will help you sustain that life in which you desire and long to live. You know, your past doesn't equal your future unless you choose to stay and live in the past. You have the choice. Everything is a choice.
Absolutely. And the one takeaway, like the transformational takeaway I would say here, is just realize that fear is not a conscious response. You know, it's not something that you are consciously thinking of. It's not even like it has nothing to do with you. So awesome. And you know, I trust this brings value to people. You know, I want people to show up and I want them to take back control and take back their power of what's possible for them. Because you do have the power to change to make the rest of your life the best of your life. But it starts with you first. It starts with inside here. And realizing that fear is inevitable. It's going to happen. We can't control the thought of fear popping in. However, we can control how we choose to handle that thought of fear coming in and to realize, hey, this isn't me. This is just my brain trying to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I get that, it's like, all right, now step over and let me take over. Ooh. Step over. Let me take over.
Step on over.
All right. Well, great Thursday to everybody. Gail, thanks for your vibrancy, energy, passion, and purpose for improving the quality of people's lives. Humans need more of you. Gail Zintek, Coach Gail Zintek.
Let's go, Coach.
Let's go. You ready to go? Say let's go. Make it a great week.
We're out.